Hi, I'm Randy Alvarez. You are watching the WH Longevity Health Report. And here we have Dr. Jonny Bowden. They call you Dr. Jonny. Jonny, welcome
Absolutely.
to the program. Now, we invited you on the show today to talk to a specific group of patients that Dr. Weiss sees. Mm-hmm. They're pretty fit, but they want to pick it up a notch. Mm-hmm. I mean, they've been workout people their whole life. They've been eating well. Maybe some of them can't lose weight the way they used to. They go to the gym. They're just not cut. Mm-hmm. They may work out an hour a day, but they're just not happy for whatever reason, and they don't have a lot of energy. Mm-hmm. In fact, we've had some military guys. Mm-hmm. What do they call those guys? The SEALs. We have a SEAL, and one of the SEAls
better shape than
says,
me.
"My edge." He goes, "I just don't feel the energy I used to feel. Wants to get it back," and hasn't really had to pay attention to nutrition throughout his life. Now all of a sudden he's 45 and going, "Wow, what do I do now?" He just hasn't paid attention to it. Now let's start with your background. Your book in every bookstore in America, The 150 Most Effective Ways to Boost Your Energy. Mm-hmm, you're also the author, best-selling author of the 150 Healthiest Foods on Earth. Mm-hmm. And you've written, what, 6 books?
Mm-hmm. 6 with the 7th coming out in January.
And you used to have a weight problem, you claim.
Oh,
okay, because it's hard to believe.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true.
Are the pictures lost, or you have?
The pictures are lost, but believe me, you didn't want to see them.
Okay.
They were not attractive.
All right, okay. Now, starting with the people that are in their 40s, most of these people are in their 40s, and they want to go to the next level. They want that edge. Most of them are interested in bioidentical hormones, but the nutrition, and they want to get back in the gym. They want to be more effective with their workouts, be more effective with their nutrition. Where does it begin?
It's sort of like a circle. You can just jump in any place and start to make changes. One of the things I notice with a lot of experienced workout people is that they're not always exercising smart. Okay. When I go to the gym and I see folks on the treadmill with the iPod in the ear, staring mindlessly at the television and doing an hour, I know they're not getting the maximum benefit that they could get from their hour in the gym. I know it.
All right.
I've been with trainers who challenge you to do 15 minutes with them and be able to walk out of there, and you can't do it. If you're exercising smart, you can get an amazing workout in a half an hour, far better than you'd get with a mindless hour on the treadmill.
Mindless hour.
I think
Is there any science behind that?
Well, there's this. There's some anecdotal evidence, and it starts with, believe it or not, Arnold Schwarzenegger, who used to say, and I can't do the accent, but when he was interviewed in the days when he was Mr. Olympia, he would say, "Put your mind into the muscle." He would visualize, he's on record as saying this, visualize the deltoid muscle as looking like a grapefruit. Put your mind into it. Now we know that there's an enormous mind-body connection. We know that there is cellular energy and that there is information that's being transmitted by neurotransmitters to the cells have an intelligence of their own. It makes sense to me. Is there science behind it? No. But it makes sense to me that when you're focused on something, you're putting more into it. You're putting more energy into it. You're putting more effort into it, and you're getting more results with it than when you mindlessly tune out.
So intensity and focus.
Intensity and focus is a huge part of it. Now, I'm a big believer, and now there is science that's starting to back me up on this, and I am certainly not the only person who believes this, that you get a lot more out of high-intensity interval training than you get out of these hour-long aerobic sessions. And we're now seeing...
Dr. Weiss also preaches that. Burst training, he calls it.
Burst training, exactly.
We learned it from Mark Smith and a few others.
The Exerciser.
Yeah.
They're all right. They're all correct. I'm here to tell you. There's research coming out of Canada.
For people that don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, let's talk about what that is.
And I know you're a big Paleolithic eating kind of a guy. Would you say that's paleo exercise as well? And elaborate on that.
Well, it's a stretch.
Well, humans, I mean, the whole idea is that humans hide in a bush, then they go bursting, running after whatever they're trying to grab.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably...
And then they stop.
You could make a case
that there was no such thing as long-duration exercise.
Well, you could make a case that there was long-duration exercise because people were nomadic tribes and they would, travel.
But they weren't jogging.
No, they weren't jogging. So there's a place for all these types of exercise. But in our modern life, when we're not traveling 20 miles a day with a nomadic tribe, and we're not shepherding sheep in the hills of Sardinia, and we're getting our exercise in specific amounts at a gym or at a place in which we've allotted exercise time, we need to be smart about how to use that time. And we need to mimic what our bodies would have done in more primitive times. And you're right, we would be able to burst. We would be able to have to sprint real fast. Now, it's interesting. If you look at marathoners, it's not hard to find flabby marathoners.
Yeah.
You ever seen a flabby sprinter?
No.
No. They look like bodybuilders in a way, don't they? They don't have any body fat on them. And their exercise, their event is 45 seconds. If you took, you saw Rocky. We've all seen Rocky. Yeah. You know when he runs the stadium steps?
Yes.
About a minute, right? You think you'd get better and fitter if you did that 3 times a day?
Then
You
doing
bet you would.
an hour.
Just doing 3 minutes a day of that.
Because your heart's what?
Of course.
More energy?
Of course.
More output?
Exactly.
Okay.
More calories burned. So to think that you can't get anything done in 3 or 4 minutes is kind of probably not true. I'm guessing that if Rocky ran those steps every day, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, he'd get a lot done.
Okay.
Okay? So you're building endurance. You're burning more calories when you're doing interval training, and here's why.
So if you're going to do so-called cardio, then do bursts rather than long duration.
Yeah, and I'll tell you how to do it.
Stuff. Okay.
Exactly, and I'll tell you how to do it, and I'll tell you why it's more effective. Even if you're a walker, even if you've just graduated from couch potato and you're now doing walking, you can do interval training. Let's say it's a scale of 1 to 10 in intensity, and let's say your intensity is a 3.
Okay.
You're a slow walker. Kick it up to a 4 for 20 seconds. If you're an 8, kick it up to a 10. So even at a lower level of fitness, you can do interval training. You push the envelope a little bit more out of the comfort zone for about 30 seconds, and then you do what we call active rest. You slow down, you don't stop, you keep walking, catch your breath a little, get back to normal, and then do another 30 seconds. And research has shown and experience has shown that when you do that kind of interval training, those kind of, 6 to 10 of those intervals a day, you get far more done than if you were to do 30 minutes or 60 minutes.
Now, the fittest people that I meet and talk to, and on my show, they come on the program, are people that believe in this burst style. They don't believe in an hour spin class.
Yeah.
They believe in this kind of
yeah, and there's nothing wrong with an hour.
J. Rob, the bodybuilding mind. I prejudged him. He's a guy. He does 30 minutes in the gym. World class shape for his age, and pretty beefy and buff.
Yeah.
He says it's intensity.
Yeah, it is intensity.
So for this,
and for people who are concerned about calorie burning, let me just give you the math on this. You burn far more calories at a high intensity than you do at a low intensity. Everybody would agree with that. That's
so
not,
1 hour of 70% of the heart rate, you're saying a half an hour.
Well, I'm saying this.
Intervals?
We can't sustain an hour at super intensity, but we can sustain 30 seconds or 60 seconds. So you burn that many more calories for that 60 seconds, then you dial it down so that you can catch your breath, and then you do it back up again. The total cumulative amount of calories burned in that kind of a session is far more than going at a steady state for an hour.
My fattest I've ever been, I don't know if I told you this, I was doing an hour of cardio a day at my fattest. And they brought me down to 20 minutes with 4 to 5 bursts, or 4 to 6 bursts in that period of time.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong, an hour of, walking for a half hour a day, studies have shown, this is across the board, there's no question about this, it grows more brain cells. There's work by Arthur Kramer at University of Michigan showing that your brain actually gets bigger with 30 to 45 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic exercise 3 times a week. Your risk for heart disease changes when you do that kind of exercise. There's nobody saying that's not good. What we're talking about is kicking it up a notch for those people who really want to, for the fit person who wants to get fitter, maybe
pick up
drop
your intensity.
Pick up the intensity.
There's always room for that, I guess,
There's always room for that. Absolutely.
Now, how many days, in your opinion, how many weight days and how many cardio day bursts?
I know people love, and book editors love these formulas, and the magazines love them, and they want to know exact amounts. But the fact is, if you go back to our Paleolithic ancestors, they didn't have prescriptions for exercise. They just were active. It was part of their life.
Okay.
And much like when I talk about the foods that we want to include in our diet, my editors are always saying, well, how many blueberries? How often? And I'm always rolling my eyes, because there is no real prescription for that. These are things you want to get into your diet. There's no particular particular amount of blueberries you need to eat.
So do something every day when it comes to
Do something
exercise.
every day. You
Little
don't
bit
need
every day.
You don't need to know that it's the weight days, Mondays and Wednesdays. It's old
What about
bodybuilding
one day
culture.
of rest a week?
Well, that's always a good idea. That's a good idea for many reasons. It lowers stress hormones and it allows you to recuperate and your muscles recuperate and so forth. But really, our bodies were designed to do something and to be active every day. We don't take a break from brushing our teeth or from breathing or from many other activities. Why should we take a break from being active? Now, it doesn't have to be the same level of intensity every day, but I think we were designed to do something and be active
Every day. Because a lot of people have jobs where they're sitting on a computer or on the phone.
Yeah.
Or on a BlackBerry,
Most
whatever.
of us do, right.
So something every day.
Something every day.
Okay, let's talk about commitment, because the people that come in here, the fit crowd, they want to pick it up a notch. Talk about, you say it's important to keep your word to yourself when starting a new program, and most of these people consider this a new program they're starting.
Well, it's the same thing as somebody who was a couch potato. The fit people who are listening to this, who are already, say, at this level and want to go to this level, think of what you would do if you were coaching a friend who's a couch potato and had never done anything. What would you tell them to do? Make a commitment, be accountable for that, take a stand for yourself, and then set a goal that you know you can achieve. So if you're at this level of fitness, you're doing, let's just pick a number, 45 minutes of burst training, you can set your goal to be 48 minutes. You can set your goal to do, one extra set of whatever it is that you're doing. So, where the intensity comes is going to depend on what level you're at now. But you can add that intensity at any level. A professional bodybuilder can add it by adding extra pounds to their bench press or extra number of sets or repetitions. There's all kinds of ways to increase intensity.
Now, what about the people that, they're pretty fit, but they can't go to that next 15 pounds, that last 15, 20 pounds, or even 10 pounds? You say keeping your word to yourself. What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is that we have kind of conditioned ourselves not to believe our own word. Almost all of us, even the fittest and the most motivated of us, have promised ourselves that we would do something starting tomorrow. Organize our desk, take up a hobby, lose weight, go to the gym, stop smoking, some habit or a closet we've been meaning to clean out. And we promised ourselves many times we're going to start that thing tomorrow. We're going to do that by such and such a date, and such a date comes and we don't do it. So what happens is we don't believe our word anymore. We don't believe ourselves. And I think that a lot of kicking it up a notch starts with rehabilitating our word and starting to believe our own words, so that when we say something is going to happen, it actually happens.
So don't set too high of goals.
No, set a goal that's achievable, because you want to trick your brain into having a success. You always want to give yourself a success so that you come back for more. Look, I took up skiing when I was 18 or 19 years old. I fell on my butt. Guess what? I've never been skiing again. It's no fun to do something you fail at. Okay. So what you want to do is you want to set it up so that it's a successful experience. You go, God, I liked that. Well, you like things that you're good at. So set it up. If you're not good at something, set it up so that you are good at it. We were talking about this for the couch potatoes. Set up a goal of 2 minutes a day on the treadmill. Can you do that? Everybody can do that. Set that up. Your brain will process that as a success. Build enough successes, and all of a sudden you've got a new habit.
Okay. Now with eating. Okay. So how do you pick that up a notch? How do they, they're in bad habits. Maybe they blow it every other day, or they blow it 3 times a week. When I say blow it, they tell us they'll have pizza. They know they don't want pizza because they have a goal to look great in a bathing suit or have their abs show or whatever, look great in a little black dress. But they blow it about 3 times a week. So is this all about commitment? I mean, what's your take on this? And how do you motivate them to, okay, this is it. This is a real program.
It's an interesting thing. Some of the new research that's coming out now is showing that when we are at the highest levels of our stress, we have the least amount of self-control. It's almost as if we have a finite amount of attention and self-control, and when it's being used up or drained by stress, we have very much less of it for other things like food. So I don't know about you, but I've noticed this myself. If I'm very stressed, I'm eating anything and I'm not conscious of it, and I have a lot less willpower, if you will. So maybe it starts with a better stress management program, not necessarily with more willpower and more gritting your teeth and holding on by your fingernails to that ledge, but maybe by setting the conditions in which your willpower will naturally assert itself. Maybe that's the answer, and that answer starts with some stress reduction. So here's a sort of roundabout way to get to that commitment. Maybe instead of going, you just got to work harder, you just got to grab that ledge with the fingernails harder, maybe what we need to do is take a break and work on the stress that's making it so difficult for us to put our willpower into action.
Okay, your book, Most Effective Ways to Boost Your Energy. You're big on sleep. A lot of these people come in here
And stress reduction.
and they say, Randy, I work out, I do this, I do that last 15 pounds, and we ask them how many hours they sleep a night. They say 5-6 hours.
Yeah.
How important is sleep?
It
what's your
may
message
be
to
the
them?
most important thing of all, because without it, the rest of it almost doesn't matter. I did an article once on AOL about the best thing you could do for weight loss that cost nothing and that you could do in bed. And that article got more hits than any. I've written hundreds of articles on it. That was the most viewed article I've ever written anywhere. And the thing that you could do in bed that cost you no money that was good for weight was sleep. And here's why. When we undersleep, we raise levels of a hormone called cortisol. Cortisol sends a message to the body to break down muscle, which lowers our metabolic rate, and also to store fat around the abdominal area, which is the most dangerous kind of fat, the most metabolically active kind of fat, and exactly what you don't want when you're looking at fat, the apple shape, and that's what cortisol does. When you're not sleeping enough, you're not reproducing biochemicals that are important for well-being, neurotransmitters. You're not replenishing them and nourishing them. So sleep is where it starts. I don't know about you,
But they all want to sleep.
well,
So
they
how do
want
you-
to, well,
Okay.
because you haven't set the conditions for sleep. And what I talk about, is, interestingly, in the book on the most effective ways to boost your energy is, how do you get energy? It's like trying to grab water. You can't grab water. What you can do is create the conditions in your palm where water can exist. So if I do this, not if I grab it, it's splattering all over the place. If I do this, I create those conditions, you can put some water in my palm and it's going to stay there. That's what energy is like. When you're trying to grab energy, you can't get it. When you create the conditions in your life when energy can manifest itself, you can get plenty
sleep
of it.
is one of those
Sleep is
things.
one of those conditions. The correct fuel is another of those conditions. The correct exercise and activity for the body is another of those. Detoxifying from toxic relationships is another one. Reducing stress is another one. Those are the conditions that allow your palms to sit like this, and guess what comes in? Energy.
What if they can't sleep 8 hours a night or 7 hours
Well,
a
I
night?
don't know that there's a magic number here. It seems to be somewhere between 6 and 9. People don't do well with under 6, and over 9 has problems of its own. But somewhere in there is the right number, and it's not just the number of hours you spend in bed, it's the quality of the sleep. There's something I talk about in the book called sleep architecture. It has to do with the 4 stages of sleep plus REM. We need a certain number of cycles of these 4 stages plus REM every single night for real optimal health. And it's very important to do. If you're waking up every hour on the hour, if the electricity from the computer is flashing on and off, if the VCR is flashing, well, we don't have VCRs anymore,
Yeah.
but if you've got those electric LCD lights that are going on and off,
Headsets, phones, I mean,
they
they all have them.
absolutely, every one of these can disrupt
What about
sleep.
people I mean, Dr. Weiss, a firm believer that checking your emails before bedtime.
Bad
Or-
idea.
Or looking at this bright screen.
Not a good idea.
Why?
Why? Because this stuff
In your
stays
opinion.
in your psychic space. It occupies psychic space and psychic energy. What you go to sleep with is what you frequently dream about. When if you fall asleep with the television on, you often have dreams of thigh masters. I mean, do you notice how
Yeah,
that kind of
okay.
seeps into your brain? And Dr. Mehmet Oz has done some remarkable work before he was famous. He did some work on anesthesia, in which people were given associations like black, brown, black, white, while they were in operations. And then they were asked those associations afterwards. And believe it or not, those associations that were programmed into their brains while they were in anesthesia were remembered. They didn't remember them, but they made the same associations. When you're sleeping, things get in. And if the TV's on, and if the electricity's
But it helps
flashing,
them sleep, they say. I don't do this,
Well-
but I know a lot of people that do this.
yeah, so do drugs help people sleep. The point is, does it help you sleep really artfully and with the proper sleep architecture so that it's really restive and restorative? Or do you wake up in the morning groggy? If you're waking up in the morning groggy, I don't care how many hours you've spent in bed, it hasn't been really restful sleep.
Okay, so preparing for bedtime. What?
It's a big part of the book. I
Dim
talk
the
ab-
lights.
There's a million things.
Like 1 hour for sure before bedtime.
Well, I
Keep
think,
it low. Stay away from your computer.
all that's good advice. And I'll tell you one other thing that I haven't been able to do myself, but it's advice I give in the book. Get the TV out of your bedroom, and your sex life will improve. That's a promise.
Final message.
Yeah.
Again, about taking it to the next level.
Okay.
To the athlete, to the person that, again, they're cheating once a week on their diet. That's their only problem. It's keeping them right where they are. How do you keep them? How do you keep their cravings in check?
The thing about cravings is that they're fed by the very things that we crave. You know, if you're trying to kick cigarettes, as I did in 1982, you have an occasional cigarette, guess what happens? It starts the whole craving cycle again. So if somebody knows that certain foods are trigger foods, and they know that the bet you just can't eat just one mantra is 100% true for them, you're a guy like that, I'm a guy like that, bring us a plate of chocolate chip cookies, we're not having 3 bites and putting the rest away.
So cold turkey.
For people like us, or for people who are unable to resist the pull of certain foods, that's the only way to go.
Okay.
It's tough love, but it's true. You can't kick cigarettes by cutting down. Everybody.
So never bring it into your house, the bad foods.
I think you need a washout period. You need a time to let your metabolism reset. You need a time to get the cravings out of there, the addiction out of your system. Now, if there's no way you can live without this particular thing, then set it up in such a way that it doesn't create a binge and it doesn't put you on a path to destruction. You know, allow yourself 1 portion every week or every 2, you know, whatever it is that you think you can manage and handle. If you see that that sets you on the beginning of a slippery slope, it's got to be an abstinence-only program for you.
Okay. Now, your weight loss boot camp, everybody should listen to that. I listen to that.
Thank you.
I mean, it was 4 years ago. I'm going to listen to it again.
Thank you.
What's in that?
The thing about Diet Boot Camp is it's based on the idea that weight loss is a 3-pronged adventure. It's got diet and exercise, which everyone talks about, but it's got a third component, which is psychology and compliance and motivation. And that's the part that tends to get left out of a lot of diet programs. We all have the right information. We all know to exercise, and we have some good information about what to eat. But how do we stick with that? How do we get past the motivational hurdles? And that's what I talk about there. How do we reprogram our brains to have new habits of success? And what does that share in common with other habits of success outside of the eating arena? And people, a lot of the people who come to this clinic and a lot of the people who listen and read my stuff and read my books are very successful in many areas of their life. So they've learned how to take those successful habits in some areas. What we've got to do is take those skills they already have and learn how to apply them in the area of health and wellness.
All right, great. Well, always a pleasure having you on the program.
Thank you.
You've been watching WH Longevity Newscast. We'll see you next week.